sterile smell of antiseptic filled the room as she opened her eyes, blinking against the harsh fluorescent light. Her head throbbed, and a hollow ache spread through her chest. She tried to sit up, but her body felt foreign, heavy, uncooperative. Panic set in as she looked around. A small hospital room, a beeping monitor, and a nurse jotting notes on a clipboard. "Good morning," the nurse said softly, noticing her awake. "How are you feeling?" I don't know," she whispered, her voice hoarse. "What happened? Who am I?" The nurse's kind smile faltered. "You were found unconscious near the cliffs outside town. Do you remember anything? Your name? Where you're from?" She shook her head, the motion making her wince. Her mind was a blank slate, a vast nothingness where memories should have been. Moments later, the door opened, and a man entered. He was tall, with sharp features softened by concern, and he carried a small leather-bound notebook. "Emily," he said, his voice trembling slightly. "Thank God you're awake." She stared at him, her heart racing. "Do I know you?" "I'm Alex," he said, stepping closer. "Your husband." Her stomach turned. "I don't remember you. I don't remember anything." "I know," he said, his expression pained. "The doctors explained everything. But I think this will help." He placed the notebook in her lap. She hesitated, then opened it. Inside were handwritten letters, each one addressed to her in neat, looping script. "These are from me," Alex said. "I wrote them for you. They tell the story of us. How we met, fell in love, and built our life together. I thought, maybe they'd help bring your memories back." Emily traced the first letter with trembling fingers. She could sense the weight of his words, the depth of his feelings, but something about the situation made her uneasy. "Why did I lose my memory?" she asked. Alex hesitated. "They're not sure yet. Maybe the fall, maybe stress. But don't worry. We'll figure this out. Together." She nodded slowly and began to read the first letter, hoping it would unlock the door to her past. But as the words flowed off the page, an inexplicable sense of dread settled in her chest. Something about this story felt too perfect, too polished, as if it were hiding something darker underneath. He spent the next few days reading through the letters, each one detailing a piece of their supposed life together. The first described their meeting, a rainy afternoon at a quaint bookstore where she had bumped into Alex while reaching for the same novel. He had asked her out over coffee, and she'd said yes. Another letter painted a vivid picture of their wedding day, a small ceremony in a meadow, surrounded by wildflowers. "You wore a dress with lace sleeves," Alex had written. "You said the flowers in your hair made you feel like a queen." The memories felt distant, like watching someone else's life unfold. But the way Alex looked at her, the tenderness in his eyes, made her want to believe. Yet unease lingered. The letters were too idyllic, lacking flaws or fights. Her mind refused to accept them as truth. She began noticing small inconsistencies. A letter described her favorite lavender perfume, but when Alex brought a bottle to the hospital, the scent made her gag. Another mentioned her love for piano, yet her fingers fumbled over the keys when Alex encouraged her to play. One night, while Alex was asleep in the chair beside her bed, Emily found a loose page tucked into the back of the notebook. Unlike the others, this one was crumpled and hastily scrawled. "Don't trust him. Your name isn't Emily. You need to remember." Her heart raced as she stared at the note, trying to make sense of it. Who had written it? Was this a warning, or was her fractured mind playing tricks on her? The next day, Alex brought her home to a cozy house nestled on the edge of a forest. It was charming, filled with warmth, and yet something about it felt suffocating. There were no photos of them together, only framed landscapes and abstract art. "We preferred to live in the moment," Alex explained when she asked. Emily continued reading the letters, searching for answers. One mentioned a key hidden in the garden shed. Curious and suspicious, she snuck out while Alex was in the shower. The shed was dusty and cluttered, but she found the key taped beneath a shelf. It fit a small lockbox she hadn't noticed before, buried under a pile of old tools. Inside were documents, her real ID, credit cards, and a passport bearing the name Lillian Harper. Her face stared back at her from the photo, but the name wasn't Emily. Panic surged as she rifled through more papers. Restraining orders, police reports. Alex's name appeared repeatedly, listed as a suspect in a series of stalking incidents. She froze when she heard the soft creak of the back door. Alex was standing there, his eyes dark and unreadable. "Emily," he said calmly, stepping closer. "What are you doing?" She clutched the box to her chest, her voice trembling. "Who am I, Alex? What is this?" He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "You don't need to worry about that. I've taken care of everything. We're happy now. You're safe with me." Emily backed away, clutching the lockbox as Alex slowly approached. His calm demeanor only heightened her fear. "You lied to me," she said, her voice shaking. "My name isn't Emily. You're not my husband. What did you do to me?" Alex's expression hardened, his tone turning icy. "You don't understand, Lillian. I saved you. Your life before, your real life, was full of pain and chaos. I gave you something better, something perfect." Her pulse raced as fragments of memory flickered in her mind. Arguments, flashing lights, and the face of someone she trusted screaming at her to run. "You took my life," she whispered. Alex sighed, as though disappointed. "You were broken when I found you. I fixed you. Everything I've done is for us." "No, Emily," Lillian said, stepping toward the door. "It was for you." Alex lunged, but she was quicker. She hurled the lockbox at him, catching him off guard as it hit his shoulder. Seizing the opportunity, she sprinted toward the forest, her bare feet pounding against the cold, damp earth. She didn't know where she was going, but instinct drove her forward. Behind her, she heard Alex yelling, "Lillian, come back. You need me." His voice grew fainter as she pushed through branches and underbrush, her body trembling from adrenaline and fear. Finally, she saw headlights in the distance, civilization. She stumbled onto a road, waving desperately. A car screeched to a stop, and the driver jumped out, a middle-aged woman who looked alarmed. "Help me," Lillian begged. "Please." Within minutes, the police arrived. Lillian told them everything she could remember, showing them the documents she had stuffed into her pockets. When they searched Alex's house, they found more evidence. Surveillance photos, journals, and a journal that chronicled years of his obsession with her. As Alex was taken into custody, he gave her one last look, his face a mask of quiet rage. "You'll come back to me," he said, but Lillian knew she wouldn't. Months later, Lillian sat in a cafe, staring out at the world she was slowly relearning. The memories hadn't all returned, and some never would, but she was rebuilding. Her name, her career, her relationships. The letters Alex had written were now locked away in a box at the police station, part of the case against him. But one letter, the crumpled warning, stayed with her. She didn't know who had written it, but it had saved her life. As she sipped her coffee, Lillian felt the sun on her face and allowed herself a small smile. She was free, and for the first time in as long as she could remember, she felt like herself.